Hello guys, this is Simracing Corner and this is a talk and drive first impression video for the Fanatec CSL DD. So I've had this now for a couple of days and here is my first impressions. Well, first thing to tell you, I did have a bit of a scare moment when I first set this up. When you set up your wheelbase for the first time, you are invited to install firmware. And this is also illustrated in the literature. In this quick start guide it says update the firmware. So I followed the instructions, did that, and it attempted to install the firmware. The power light flashes on the base to indicate it's installing the firmware, but it crapped out. Error message came up saying the firmware failed, restart the wheelbase. And I tried that, and afterward, immediately after that, the wheelbase was not recognised by the Fanatec driver software. So that obviously worried me. Restarted the Fanatec software, still didn't work. Restarted the PC, didn't work. Restarted, repowered on the wheelbase, and it did work. And then I was able to install the drivers. So I do understand that you know, the setup wasn't exactly perfect to get up and running, but I did get there, and I do realise that some people do report problems installing Fanatec driver software, the firmware specifically, on other wheelbases, not exclusive to the CSL DD. I'm sure lots of people don't have that problem. I had a CSW 2.5 back in the day, years ago, and I updated firmware on that, never had a problem. But yes, I did experience it on here. Obviously, my first impression was, I think I bricked it and I'm screwed, but it was okay in the end, and everything is good. So the wheel settings I'm running, the driver settings I'm running, are the ones which are recommended by the FanaLab software. So if you download the FanaLab software, which is a separate download with the drivers, it is a bit of software which you can do tuning. You can do the wheel tuning. There's lots of tuning options in the back end, which is outside of the game, and the FanaLab software has lots of presets for specific games. So I'm using what they suggested, and I have to say they've done a good job there. I'd say it feels good, and I think those are the settings you should run. If you click on the link actually in the FanaLab software, it'll bring up a web page, and it'll also show you in-game force feedback settings, which they recommend for each game as well. So I'm following that other than one element, which is the force feedback strength. So in the driver, the force feedback is set at 100%. In Automobilista 2 here, it is set at 90%. And that's how I like it. It feels good to me. I don't need it any more than 90%, which is great, because if I did run it any higher, you would get some clipping. 100% you can definitely tell the motor does clip, but fortunately at 90% this does feel nice and strong. I doubt anyone will need it any more than 90%. But of course, force feedback settings per game can be a little bit different. Some people might want it a bit weaker. If I was using this wheelbase in, say, Dirt Rally 2.0, I certainly wouldn't run it at 90%. I'd expect I'd run it more at 70%, because you want a bit more freedom of the movement of the wheel. The force feedback feels nice and solid, you know, at 90% here. And for a track car like this, a stock car, it's absolutely perfect. I'm getting a nice feel of the weight of the car as the tyres load up. As I turn the wheel, I can feel that weight. I can feel the weight transfer. It comes in really, really well. There's a nice amount of nuanced feel as we take this long curve. As I put down the power, I can definitely feel the car, you know, moving around, being a little bit upset by my aggressive input from the throttle, and then I can immediately sort of just correct it. You know, that's the thing about a direct drive wheelbase. It communicates stuff instantly. It gives you instantly know what the car's doing at any time, and with that you can use that information to make micro adjustments, and it's very good. I'm able to really understand where I am at any point on the track. If I push a car, if I put the throttle on early, I can feel it through the force feedback, and I know I need to correct to the wheel or lift a little bit. And if you're coming off, say, like a belt-driven wheelbase, you know, T300, G29, any of those sort of things, you know, mid entry level sort of wheelbases, these are effects you don't feel through the wheel, and it's easy to overdrive cars on those wheelbases, and you have to learn to drive using different sensations, basically what you're seeing on the track, rather than the force feedback. With a direct drive wheel, and including the CSL DD, I'm driving with the feel of the car. I can feel everything, and every movement I'm making is because I'm reacting to the force feedback. So do take note of the motion of the wheel. When I'm going around corners, you might see me doing a slight counter steer, because I'm actually doing it because I'm reacting to the feel from the force feedback. If I was running the same car with a G29, I would not feel it. I'd be moving the wheel smoothly, and I'd just be kind of rotating the wheel in a very smooth manner. But what I can feel through this wheel enables me to feel everything. I can feel the car at every moment, and it's doing exactly what I need it to do for a force feedback wheel, as a direct drive wheelbase. And of course, this is not the strongest force feedback wheelbase on the market. It's arguably entry-level force feedback direct drive, and but this, I would say, is absolutely. I'd say this is going to be good enough for 99% of people. You won't need anything more powerful than this. I don't believe you will. With my Bodnar SimSteering 2, a 16 Nm wheelbase, I run the force feedback to the same level as this. Not 90%. What I mean is it feels like this. I run the force feedback around 30% on the SimSteering 2, and that feels like what this is running at 90%. So, which is really good, because it means I actually have the same amount of power output. It feels very familiar to me, this wheelbase, as it does to my SimSteering 2, and that's really good. So I'm really happy that I'm able to get a level of power output, the amount of resistance, the amount of torque feels about the same to me. I'm running in the same sort of settings, and that's not to say that the force feedback feels the same feels the same. It doesn't. The Bodnar does do it better, and of course it should. It's 6.5 times more expensive than this, but I have to say it's not worlds apart. There's certainly nuances and clarity of the force feedback which comes through differently on the Bodnar, which outperforms this, but it is pretty close. And and do understand it is a different motor. There are differences there. It's a more powerful motor, and it is a different motor completely. Therefore, it shouldn't feel the same. Just as much as a powerful direct drive midge motor compared to my Cole Morgan industrial motor that's used by my Bodnar, they're going to feel different as well. Even if you run them at the same sort of level of force feedback, it's going to feel different. So yes, I'm not putting this down at all. This feels very good. I'm getting a really good sense of what the car's doing. I can feel the traction. I can feel the weight of the car. I can feel the car. When I need to make small corrections around curves and corners, I can feel it, and the force feedback reacts to those inputs as well. And it's really, really nice. Anyone who is coming off the back of a belt-driven wheelbase will be blown away by this. Anyone who's coming from a more premium direct drive wheelbase, I think, will be happy with this, but you will definitely tell a difference, and you will definitely realise that yes, your more expensive direct drive wheelbase does outperform this. Not hugely, but it does. So yes, going up and down the stack, you get what you pay for, and that includes entry-level wheelbases compared to this, and this entry-level direct drive wheelbase compared to something more expensive. So this is something I will cover in more detail in another video when I have the ability to actually concentrate more. But I do have a plan for that. But first, of course, I need to get this video out for this review. So a couple of other things I want to talk about, actually, just on the quality of the force feedback. Observe. If you observe, like you can see, it's obviously quite obvious there, how the car is kind of undulating, it's moving, it's kind of bouncing up and down just a tiny bit, because the track is not smooth. Of course cars are going to be doing this, and you can feel that through the force feedback, and you can see it here. If I just hold on to it, just to avoid any oscillation, but you can just see all those little bumps, that's coming through the force feedback. So you're always feeling something. You can feel, that, you can feel the track underneath your car, underneath your tyres, at all times through the force feedback here, and that's really nice. with a cheaper entry-level force feedback wheel, you go down a straight like this and it just doesn't move, you just don't feel anything. But here I can feel this nice little kind of vibration. And also when I brake, look at this, you can just see the force feedback is reacting to those tyres, the front of those tyres being under stress. And that's, again, that's a nice feeling. You can feel the braking, you can feel lockups, you can feel the back ends stepping out, and you know how to correct it instinctively. The wheel is really, it moves nice and smoothly. It just rotates nice and smoothly. There's really light friction. I mean, there's friction from the road, from the force feedback, but if we quit out of it, you can just see it rotates really nicely. And there is, you can see it's not kind of free spinning, and the reason for that is there is some artificial friction that's been added to the driver, which you can set. So it will have a little bit of friction there, but it's not notchy and it feels nice and smooth. It's moving nice and freely. And just look at that, you can just see that, and it's quiet. So if I spin it, can you hear anything? No, it is absolutely dead silent. And when you're on the track as well, the wheel is, I just need to restart that. It is dead silent. It's a quiet wheel to use. So yeah, if you don't like noisy wheels, if you're coming off like say like Logitech wheel which rattles around, or other belt-driven wheels where you can hear kind of rattling from the mechanism, this is completely silent. You won't hear anything. You will not disturb anyone using this wheelbase at night, other than maybe the volume from the game itself. But yes, it's completely silent. Moves smoothly, rotates smoothly. I haven't experienced any issues with overheating. The actual wheelbase is feels cool. I'd say it's not cold, but it is cool. There's any warmth to it. It just feels like room temperature to me, maybe a little bit above. But after using it for a couple of hours, it just feels the same. There is no, I'm not feeling any sort of like problems with it kind of heating up. So you shouldn't experience any force feedback fade. And bear in mind, I'm running it with we are running it with the boost kit and also at 90% force feedback strength. So I am pushing it to the extremes. Another thing I'm not sure if you can see. If we just stop here, I'm not sure if you can see the wheel from the virtual wheel. If I just move my hand out of the way, but there's no input lag. I'd say it's absolutely moving just as quick. The on-screen one is moving as quick as the real one, so there's no problems with the wheel being slow and playing catch up with your inputs. That's absolutely fine as well. I'm trying to think of other things I can really tell you about it. Okay, so hopefully you found something from this talk and drive. It is difficult to hold concentration and talk in a legible way, so I do apologise for it being a little bit sort of hit and miss when I'm on track trying to hold a conversation. So a review is in the works. I will start trying out other games, recording footage, writing my scripts, having to think about all the features of the wheel, and then it will come out in a more slick review in the near future, 2 to 3 weeks, I would suppose. So yeah, look out for that. Any questions, do drop comments below the video. But hopefully, you've got a bit of a sense of what this is like to use. Some sense at least. If you can, work out from the stuff I've been kind of rambling on about in this video. But yeah, hopefully there's, you get an idea of what's going on here. Pretty happy with it so far. We'll see how it fares in other titles, and that will be featured in the review too. But yeah, so far so good. I think anyone who has bought this and is waiting for it to arrive, yes, you should be excited. I think you'll be very happy with this. Anyone who's upgrading from a belt-driven wheelbase, my God, you're going to love this. It's going to open your eyes up to what force feedback can do from these games. And yes, and you will not be able to go back. Seriously, you won't. It'll be it'll be a revelation going to a direct drive wheelbase. Anyone coming from something better than this, well, you will realise that this is a downgrade from a more powerful premium direct drive wheelbase. But taking nothing away from it, I think my first impression here is, it's working really well. It feels good. direct drive wheelbase is doing what a direct drive wheelbase should do, and that's giving you immediate and detailed force feedback, and also a nice level of strength. And yeah, so it kind of ticks all the boxes. Yeah, not perfect, but if you want something perfect, spend $3 on a SimSteering 2, the Bodnar SimSteering 2. Otherwise, get this. That's kind of what, you know, what I'm saying here, guys. If you want better, you can pay for it. But I have to say, you know, having used this now for a couple of days, it's hard to see that anyone is likely to need anything more than this. Really, I have to say, you know, I think that's kind of the truth of the matter. But this will come out in the review, and I do have some other videos planned for the CSL DD. But yeah, don't take this as the final review and my verdict. But, you know, my first impression is it's very, very good. You know, I've reviewed a bunch of other wheelbases. I have a more powerful direct drive wheelbase. It doesn't take me too long to kind of work this one out, since I do have lots of experience using different products, and therefore, you know, I can make an assessment quite quickly. So I know this is going to do well in the review, as long as it doesn't blow up between now and then, and as long as it works well in these other games without any hitches. So right now, Automobilista 2, good choice, runs really well. Assetto Corsa Competizione, that one also ran very nicely as well, so I was happy with the performance there. We also have Race Room to try out, R Factor 2, some rally with some Dirt Rally 2, and maybe some karting as well with Kartcraft. So those will come up in the review. Those are sort of my main games I like to test my wheelbases with when I review them. So yeah, check it out, guys. Stay tuned. Yeah, and I'll be back soon. Yeah, drop comments below the video. Ask any questions. I'll try and, you know, pick those up and give you some feedback as well. But yeah, until the next one, take care. Happy simming, and bye bye.